Hi there, I'm Gloria Makurenko. While the spirit of the season is upon us, we have stories about giving and stories about giving back. This is Our Vancouver. Coming up, creating art and building community on city transit. And local and lovely last-minute gift ideas. But first, a plea for help from one of our region's busiest charities. You know, our newscasts have been full of stories recently about the hardships many families are facing this year in particular. Food banks and other nonprofits are seeing a huge rise in people needing help. Well, today, Matt Campbell is with us. Matt is Executive Director at the Cloverdale Community Kitchen, and Lindsay Rempel is Director of Programs. Matt, Lindsay, hi there and welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So, Matt, what are you seeing just in terms of, talk about this huge increase in demand?
Yeah, so we've been doing the Cloverdale Christmas Hamper program for about 35 years. And over the last 5-10 years, we've been averaging anywhere from about 250 to 300 kids that need help. And this year, when we opened up registrations, we were like, oh my goodness, we had 900 kids under 18 register for help this year.
Amazing. So what's going on? Why is that?
I think there's several different reasons. I think a lot of families are feeling the pinch of the rising cost of living, in particular, of food, of gas, of housing. And those that were just maybe able to squeak by in previous years are just finding that they need that extra bit of help this year. In addition to that, we serve a lot of newcomers to Canada, refugee families and other immigrant families. And a lot of them do have larger families of 5, 6, 7 children. So that's also...
Right. So a big part of what you do is put together these hampers. Matt, why don't you just take us through some of what you brought in here today? What would be a typical food hamper? Yeah,
so we have we have a couple sections. We have a whole bunch of food that we put into the hamper. We have fresh things, oranges representing that, frozen items. Then we have a lot of the great staples that you'd want around the holidays: pancakes and syrup, cookies and cereal. And then we have some fresh stuff like some milk. And in the old days, we used to put in turkeys, but now we do gift cards. And that all came about because there was a time when we ordered 200 or 300 turkeys, and the box opened up and frozen turkeys went all over the floor. And so we decided gift cards for turkeys was a lot better idea.
No, that's nice. And Lindsay, also some gift bags. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so for teens, those 12 to 17, we put together some gift bags full of things that teens would like: fun socks and mittens and tubes.
Lovely.
Hygiene and toiletry items, and then also a gift card that they can spend at a store.
Okay.
As we know, teens are a little bit harder to buy for. They don't want the
You
toys that the younger kids would want.
Right.
And then we have a special branch of our program dedicated to seniors as well, because a lot of seniors, especially over the past 2 years, have been really isolated.
Yes.
They often get forgotten. A lot of organizations deal with families and children, so we want to make sure we're serving seniors as well. So we put together special gift bags, warm socks, tea, mugs. We give them a small gift card as well, so they can buy something for themselves.
Okay, so what are you still in need of this time of year, Matt?
So we definitely are just finishing up a lot of our hampers, and they'll be delivered anywhere from now up until Christmas. And so food, gift cards, and definitely with the 900 kids, a toy drive. We're just finishing up our toy drive, so we could definitely use some more help with that. And yeah, just general support from the community for all these items.
And why is it you do what you do? I'd like to hear from each of you. Lindsay?
I come at it 2 ways. I do have a deep faith, and so that's what motivates me to help others. I feel like I've been called to share that love and hope that I receive with others. Mm-hmm. And also just, I know I've been blessed with so much, and I just see so much need out there. So just any way that I'm able to spread that love to others.
Right. And what about for you, Matt? I mean, especially when you say you're used to serving 200 to 300, and now the list has tripled at least. You know, that's got to be daunting.
It is definitely daunting. One of the things that I do, we run a whole food bank, and a lot of the days on Thursday morning, I actually go up and down the food bank line and chat with a lot of our clients, and just to hear some of the stories of people having to get out of Afghanistan or out of Syria or out of the Ukraine and what they had to go through just really touches me. And when I hear what they went through, and then knowing that they brought their kids along, I just know that we have to give their kids something special this Christmas, especially the ones that they're in Canada for the first time. We need to make sure that they have a great Christmas.
Lovely. Now, for someone who might be watching right now and saying, I want to help, I've got some things I want to donate as well, what would you suggest? Where do they drop things off?
So in Cloverdale in Surrey, we have the Cloverdale Community Kitchen. They can drop it off right at our own place. We also have a website where they can make an online donation, or they can find out about the times when we're open and come and visit us before Christmas. And we'd be happy to take those and get them to people that are waiting for those gifts.
Thank you. It's really heartwarming to think about the difference that you're making in people's lives this season and all year round. So thanks very much for coming in. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
I'm Wyatt, and this is our Vancouver.
You know, people in Port Alberni have bid farewell to an iconic local eatery, Solda's Family Restaurant. It was open for more than 50 years. And as Wamish Hamilton shows us, saying goodbye was bittersweet for the family and for the community.
It's an emotional day in Port Alberni. After 53 years, a staple of the community has closed its doors. Solda's Family Restaurant is no more.
It's all family today. Today's all family. It's all my sister from Alberta. It's all family.
Ivo Solda's parents opened the restaurant in 1969. It quickly became a local favorite. The eatery thrived when Port Alberni was booming, when it had one of the highest per capita incomes in all of Canada. It even survived the lows through the resource economy crash and when families left.
Just the mall days and just developing a restaurant at that time. My dad, just designing it, getting it done. And over the years, with the downfall of the forestry industry and all that, it was a tough time at that time.
Ivo took over the business, but it stops here. His kids aren't interested in running the restaurant. Despite that, the family came together to keep it going in its final weeks.
The city is really expanding. We've come a long ways from the little mill town that we were used to being known for, and we have customers who are sad, but some are really happy about what's going on in Port Alberni.
It was busy here on its final day. Well-wishers stopped by to say goodbye and wish the Soldas congratulations on a well-earned retirement.
I'd like to thank all the customers over the years. That's the best part of the job. Otherwise, too much work.
Customers say the restaurant meant as much to them as it did to the family.
I feel pretty good about it. I've been coming to Solda's for over 50 years. It's been a real part of my growing up as a kid.
To me, I'm trying not to get emotional because so many meetings we had here, luncheon meetings, so many family gatherings here.
It's bittersweet, but Ivo feels it's the right time to close this chapter of their lives as they begin to create a new one. Wamish Hamilton, CBC News, Port Alberni.
Well, Mish, thank you so much for that story. Okay, it's time for one of our favorite features. Yes, this is where we get to showcase some of the photographs that you send in. Well, first, it is a fun tradition in our city to see construction cranes lit up with lights. So this is Oak Ridge Mall. Thank you so much, Jason Cole, for sending that one in. And Travis Bonner calls this one the Christmas moon over Kamloops. That looks so lovely, Travis. Thank you. And finally, what a splendid snowy image from Michelle Abisad, who was tubing at Cypress Mountain earlier this month. So fresh. Michelle, thank you. Beautiful photographs. Send us more. It's easy. Just email your favorites to us, bcphotos@cbc.ca. That's bcphotos@cbc.ca. All right, time now to check in on one of Vancouver's largest construction projects, the Squamish Nation's mega complex, Senakw. It's on False Creek. It's made headlines for months. And in our Land Back series, CBC reporter Angela Sterrett is looking at the First Nations' fight to finally control what's theirs, despite plenty of opposition. And there is a warning, there is some strong language in this story.
This whole area at one time would have just been all beautiful sandy beach at low tide.
It's a 120-year lease, and it will bring stable funding to the Squamish Nation.
This development is going to help my grandchildren and great unborn descendants because of how long the lease is.
When complete, Senakw will transform the Kitsilano skyline with 6,000 rental units and 1,200 condos, with one of the proposed 11 towers standing 58 stories tall. The cost is in the millions, but critics, including neighbors, say the cost is immeasurable and raise concerns they weren't consulted. On their side, Gordon Price, a city planner and former 6-term Vancouver councillor. I spoke with him in April. He says he's not opposed to the Senakw development, but argues concrete skyscrapers and urban density are at odds with his notion of indigeneity.
You cannot say that our connection to the land is so deeply meaningful that we call ourselves land defenders. When you're building 30, 40 high-rises out of concrete, there's a big gap between that and an indigenous way of building.
Price also takes issue with the fact that city rules for building height and complex density don't apply since the development is on Squamish Nation Reserve land, not city land. But his complaints go deeper. During the taping of our Land Back podcast, Price also said he believes the nation is taking some kind of retribution over this stolen land.
They'll be making decisions that are going to profoundly affect the development and the future of Vancouver.
It's so interesting listening to you because it's reminding me of when the settlers came here and instituted their governing structures that we weren't allowed to participate in.
That's right.
And
that's right. It's exactly like that.
So how does that make you feel? It's like the tables are being turned a little bit.
Yeah, no, look, I'll say it. It's basically, you us, now we you. That's no basis for reconciliation. That's not going to work.
But
That's
is it really
awful.
you, though, when they're supplying housing? Thousands of people?
No, it's about democratic accountability.
Right,
they decide.
So it's a matter of who's got the power?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Bingo.
While stark and shocking to some, Squamish Nation members like Sequoia have heard Price's comments before.
A lot of the people who are angry and, saying that they don't want to see our development occur don't know the history. And they need to be educated and know that, and isn't just benefiting Squamish Nation, but providing housing for some of our people as well as non-native people who live in the Vancouver area.
Ottawa is responsible for reserve lands, including Senakw. In nation-to-nation negotiations, the Squamish are in talks with the federal government, not the city of Vancouver.
A lot of the fear and the fear-mongering is through lack of awareness and ignorance of the underlying issues. And once that understanding is made, you usually find really, really close allies.
Imagine the frustration of having no input over the land. It's an irony that's not lost on the descendants of Senakw, lands that once held a different kind of wealth.
Lots of resources that helped us survive. Clams, mussels, fish that don't go up the Squamish River, seals, different foods and that they were able to preserve and live throughout the winter with.
So what changed and how did we get here? Well, by the 1800s, settlers began chipping away at the territory, eventually boxing residents of Senakw into a parcel of land called Kitsilano Indian Reserve, number 6. It got whittled down over time. A bridge eventually cut through it. Also,
Vancouver was growing. They felt that it was an eyesore to have an Indian reserve right in the middle of the city. So an illegal surrender and land deal was made with the Indian agent.
In 1913, Sequalia's grandfather and other Squamish people came home from fishing season to find an empty village burned to the ground. Japremia Siam is also a descendant of Senakw and a hereditary chief.
What we're looking at, there's a barge across the water, and I feel really emotional when I see that, knowing that my ancestors, were loaded up on a barge and sent over to actually where I live now, Comulchiston, which is now called Capilano Reserve. So it is quite emotional to look at.
That removal happened because of an amendment in the Indian Act that made it legal to remove Indigenous people from reserves in an incorporated town or city without their consent. But in the 1970s, the Squamish Nation sued the federal government for that removal and won. Finally, in 2002, it struck a $92 million deal that resulted in the return of a prime slice of land right here on the shores of False Creek.
And we were awarded what was called the CNY lands because of the way the land is shaped around the Burrard Street Bridge. And the footings of the Burrard Street Bridge were actually a graveyard.
We were taken off the land, but we still own this place. Our hearts are still here. Our ancestors' hearts are still here. And nobody could ever take that away.
Construction here at Senakw is well underway, and whether the neighbors agree or not, change is coming to this land. Angela Sterrett, CBC News, Senakw, Squamish Territory.
Coming up, why you should be thinking of oceans as carbon sinks and why that matters. Johanna Wagstaffe is next.
As you probably know, there is a lot of extra CO2 in our atmosphere right now, higher levels than at any time in the past 400,000 years because of burning fossil fuels. Now, a bunch of it just hangs out in the atmosphere for a long, long time, heating our planet by creating a giant greenhouse. Some of it is taken up by plants through photosynthesis. Thank you, trees. A huge amount of it is consumed by the ocean. Oceans absorb 30 to 50% of the CO2 produced by burning fossil fuels. Without our oceans, global warming would have already made the planet a lot warmer. How exactly does the ocean do this? First, through basic chemistry. Wait. It's just carbon dioxide dissolves in water. So H2O plus CO2 equals H2CO3. This is carbonic acid, which breaks apart and reforms as bicarbonate, which is stored in shells and bones of marine organisms. The other way the ocean eats CO2 is through photosynthesis by phytoplankton. Now, these are microscopic plant-like organisms. They generate about half the oxygen in the atmosphere. That's right, as much per year as all plants on land. Every time you breathe in, you should probably thank phytoplankton. But of course, there is a limit to how much CO2 the ocean can take in. And we are already seeing the consequences of a warmer and very different chemistry-based ocean thanks to the CO2 that's in the atmosphere right now. But it's not too late to start the worst of the consequences. We just have to act now and with courage. And now, you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet or an email, and I'll try to get it answered.
I'm Johnny, and this is our Vancouver.
Johanna, thanks so much. Now you're watching Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Macarenko. And if you need a few almost last-minute gift ideas, designer Karla Dreyer is here with us to rescue us today. So nice to see you again.
Nice
How
to
are
see
you?
I'm doing well.
I'm so glad you're here in person. I know you've sort of dipped into the show from your kitchen to give us some gift ideas and all that kind of thing. So how are you doing? I mean, are you set for the season yourself?
Well, like I was saying before to a few people here that, there's still always those last minute things to get. So I might, be picking in a few things from here at the end of this.
Okay, and I may be as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I made sure everything's in stock and easy to get. And,
I'll send you an e-transfer.
Okay.
You've got so much on here. Let's start over on this end and just give us some great gift ideas.
So jewelry. I think you can't go wrong with jewelry. And what I love is everything on this table is locally made. This is by a local girl, Auntie Anna, and her company. And what I love is that the jewelry, it's really fine, beautiful jewelry. I'm actually wearing a necklace and a bracelet from her right now.
And I like the layering of these as well.
It's affordable prices. And she does it kind of like a concierge service. So if you order something, you can pick it up like within 24 hours. She has it gift wrapped. Like she's got you covered. And then there's things for men. So I like this. I was thinking even my dad, like he's kind of wearing bracelets, thinking he's kind of cool. like maybe a bracelet for your brother
that's a little thicker.
right?
Sure, lovely.
Or chains for men as well. So yeah, some of them are 14 karat gold or gold filled, and I just think you cannot go wrong.
And they're local.
And they're local, which
Look
I love.
at these.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm almost afraid to get too close to touch them because they look almost fragile. What are we looking at
I'm
here?
a little obsessed. So these are candles. This is Obaki, which again is a local company. And what I love that they do is they connect artisans with their work and bring it here. This is a maker. She's over 80 years old in Mexico. She comes from 300 years of candle making.
Oh my.
And I can't even imagine. I mean, she does everything herself by hand. So I would say you do not burn this candle.
No, and I'm going to pick it up, but very, very carefully. Look at the detail in that. Those are individual wax roses.
Yeah.
So this could be something you could either just bring out year after year and handle very carefully, or you can give it to someone and say, you know what? Go nuts. Light it up and let this be sort of your statement for the year, right?
It's
let
gorgeous.
it
What
burn
I love
through.
is this one is then you could keep the bowl, which is
The bowl has the flowers on the outside,
and then you burn the candle inside. So I thought that's smart because then you get the beauty of it, but the double of it. But I think the person who's kind of got everything that you don't know what to buy for, you don't have this.
Get them a really fragile wax flower candle thing. I love it. Okay, wait a second. What are we going with?
All right, we're going with loungewear because I know we're back to work and back socializing and everything, but I think being comfortable is still really important to people.
No kidding.
So this company, again, paper label, local, female-founded. They are designed in Vancouver.
There's the thing, paper label.
And
paper label.
loungewear, so the pajamas, but they've also got, this is a beautiful kind of house robe, they call it.
Yeah.
And I have one of their sweaters, which prompted this, and I wear it all the time. Because
you know what? You can even wear that out to go shopping with it too. This is not a house robe.
Double duty. I kind of think their stuff is that you wear and you're comfortable, but then if you need to run to the grocery store, the kids to school.
People out walking their dogs. It's I'm getting up. I've had my coffee, but I don't want to get dressed yet.
And this is a 14-year-old, and they are wearing their pajamas to school.
Of course. So that's the thing to do. Just put on a fancy pair of shoes, and it's all good. It's all good. Okay, these kinds of things I think make really nice gifts because it's things you don't often buy for yourself.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay,
this
so where are we
is
going?
stocking stuffers. Local shop, The Cross. If you don't know what to get someone, just go. For one, going in there feels like you're having a Christmas touring. Like you could go, it's like a Christmas outing to go in there.
Yes.
But things like this is a laundry detergent that you can wash your delicates in that smells incredible, right? You would never buy yourself that,
No,
right?
that's true.
A silk. And I don't have one of these, but apparently it's really good for the hair. A silk pillowcase,
okay.
right? So
I've seen so many ads on that. So we don't know if they work. We don't know if they work.
But I have heard from friends that they absolutely do. So again, not something you're probably buying
for yourself. That's right.
The cozy socks, the really, fancy soaps.
These socks go with this. Throw, don't they? That would.
And one of these hair towels. I don't know if you're familiar with this quick drying hair towel.
No,
this is a huge thing now. It's the fabric of it, and you wrap it up, and it
absorbs all the moisture, so you don't have to rub and get it off.
But sometimes I think, well, I'll just use a towel. But if I had one of these,
if you had a hair towel, there's something else
I'd be using it.
Okay, what about these? This is.
It's like
you put in the mouth guard, the earplugs, and the eye mask.
The eye mask. You're good. You're good to go. So I think
for travel.
For travel. But I think it's great for a girlfriend, for mother-in-law.
Adjustable
you
sleep
know,
mask. No, but this is super soft
so
too.
nice.
That's
Or little, like, you know, face masks. Our neighbor just had a baby, and I was like, I'm going to get her things for herself,
Yes,
right?
yes,
You
yes.
know?
It's all about the baby, but no,
Yeah.
Mom, you got to take care of
Yeah,
Mom
things for
too.
herself.
Okay, and finally,
And then
here on the
I
end.
love art, and I love supporting local artists. This is Amy Stewart. She's a local artist out of Granville Island, and her work is incredible, but she's selling her prints. And so she has prints available at an affordable price, and for a frame, because it's already got the white matting, you just
Yes.
get a 16 by 20 frame. You have got an amazing gift, I think, to give to like a couple. Like I was thinking like my mom and dad, you know, or if it was grandparents, or if it was in a work party or anything. I just think supporting local artists is
Well, and that is
fantastic.
something that's just so easy to live with, even just the one that you brought in here. I mean, it's just gorgeous and elegant.
Very beautiful.
Now, Karla, what do you think? I mean, the little things, and a lot of us say, I don't need any more little things in my life. But you know, what can some of these little design and personal details do for someone's life, do you think?
I think it's just special. I think like if something's thought out, you know, like and supporting local, I'm always a really big fan of that. But I think if something that, again, you maybe wouldn't buy yourself. I think of everything here you maybe wouldn't buy yourself, but if someone else gets it for you, it's special and you appreciate it. And if there's a bit of a story behind it,
love it.
To me, that makes all the difference.
Okay, I'm going to wrap you up in this. Okay, I hope you have a great season.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, all the best. We're loving it.
I'm cozy.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you.
If you want to get out and see some live music, the electronic music duo, the Funk Hunters, they do their annual 2-day Funk the Hall shows at the Commodore, December 22nd and 23rd.
I'm always on my way up, I never sit on sofas.
And the Iranian pop star Aaron Afshar plays the Queen Elizabeth Theatre, December 24th.
Hey, I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music with some great news for you as we head into the holidays. We have declared the winners in our 8th annual Canadian Music Class Challenge. That's when we challenge music teachers to learn a Canadian song from our list, teach it to their students, and send us a video of the performance for great prizes. And here is a fine cross-section of just some of our winning classes for this year. Okay, there is no way that my high school band could swing like that. Nice work. Those are just some of our first place winners in this year's Canadian Music Class Challenge, and a pretty clean sweep from BC too. But you can see the entire list of winners from across the country in first, second, and third place in all the different age categories now at cbc.ca/musicclass. First place winning classes receive thousands of dollars worth of new musical instruments for the classroom. Congratulations to all of our winners and our runners-up, and a big thumbs up to the thousands of music students who participated this year, and to all of our amazing music teachers from coast to coast to coast. I'm Grant Lawrence. Happy holidays. Keep Canadian music education alive, and I'll check in with you again soon.
Coming up, A very Vancouver problem, learning to drive in a snowier city. Hi there, welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Well, we have had quite the taste of winter weather already here in Metro Vancouver. And while the snowy streets, yeah, they're a normal sight for many parts of BC. But things sort of shut down in the urban centers when it happens. So what's going to happen when we get it again? We sent our Leanne Young up to the mountains to get some tips on winter driving.
All right, we are here at Mount Seymour in this empty parking lot because I don't know how to drive in the snow. I'm a born and bred Vancouverite, so I feel like I haven't really needed to learn how to, but I should because the climate is changing. And so today we found a driving instructor to teach me how to do it. Let's do this. Hey, Patrick, right?
Hi, yes.
Leanne, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for meeting me. I can't wait to do donuts in this lot.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, shall we hop in the car?
Yeah, come on
Let's
down.
do this. Okay.
And don't worry, I've got a set of pedals over here in case we get into trouble.
Okay, let's hope it doesn't get to that.
So how do you set your side view mirrors usually?
I kind of try to make sure I see the little bit of the back of my car.
Yeah, so that's not a bad way to set up your mirrors. What we typically like to do is push our mirrors out a little bit more.
Oh.
Lean your head towards the driver's side glass.
Yeah.
Now adjust that mirror just like you did now.
Right. Okay, so see more of the road behind me.
Correct. Now when you move back to your normal driving position, you can't see the car anymore, correct?
No, I can't.
Yes, but what you've done is virtually eliminated your blind spot. You're able to follow a car all the way up alongside of your vehicle.
Why are they here stealing our thunder? Look at this. I just go slow. That's typically my tactic.
Well, that's not a bad tactic. As you get driving, you're going to find that traction changes quite a bit.
Okay.
So let's give it a shot and
Okay.
see what kind of traction level we have available to
Okay,
us.
and you have snow tires on your car, right?
I do, yeah. Our vehicles are fully equipped with snow tires.
Patrick was a race car driver for a living for a while, so this is going to be very fun.
Let's pick up our speed a little bit.
Okay, this is scary. We're gonna go a little
bit
faster.
faster. So let's go around the cone.
Okay, and I'm even signaling because I gotta be on my best behavior here.
And then let's see what happens when we hit the brakes. Nice and hard.
Oh, that was scary. I heard that grinding.
ABS, anti-lock braking system.
Oh, okay.
So it helps keep the wheels rolling. So even in snow and ice, when things get a little bit slippery, you can see that the car actually stops pretty quickly.
Yeah, this is pretty good.
We do have a nice layer of snow that's just falling down right now. So that actually gives quite a bit of grip. You want to give yourself enough distance. So I would say like 8 to 10 seconds worth of distance, just in case you need to stop.
I just tried to slide my hand under the wheel to turn, which we are not supposed to do. So.
That's right. It
Yeah.
puts your hand in a funny position. And if
All
we
that
were to strike something and the airbag were to deploy, your arm's not in a great position. Another tip that I have for folks is to work with your hands at 9 and 3. So by keeping our hands at 9 and 3, this allows us to do the steering input that we need to. And when we get into doing those little slides, it gives us control over the vehicle. When you bring your hands back forward, you know your wheels are straight. I'm sure a lot of people were taught 10 and 2. That's a bit old now. That was for cars back in the 50s that didn't have power steering. So now
Okay.
do you want to feel the car slipping and sliding around a little bit?
I guess so, yeah, because I want to know what to do in that situation. Because I
course.
hear a lot of people say you should be pumping your brakes or get off your brakes.
The pumping the brakes, ABS does that now for us much more efficiently than we can do.
Oh,
So
okay.
no need to pump your brakes anymore.
No
okay?
need to pump your brakes. You heard it here.
I always say look to where you want the car to go. Even when the car is not going there, even when the car steps out and you feel a little bit of a slide, look and steer where you want the car to go. That's going to be the best thing that you can do to help keep you safe in the event of a skid.
Okay, and so how far out should I be looking then?
Ideally, as far down the road as you can. Part of it is to get the information sooner, but the other part is actually gives you a wider field of view. A big common tip is that people look at obstacles they want to avoid, but you focus on where you want the car to go. Okay? And then once we get our hands set 9 and 3, let's go. Oh, so you're feeling some slipping and sliding there? Keep the throttle on, keep going, keep going. Excellent.
Oh my God,
okay,
yes, I'm definitely feeling some sliding.
Okay, so how did that feel?
I could definitely feel the car, you know, swerving a bit, both in the back and in the front.
For sure.
Especially as we picked up speed.
Easing off the gas, that's the first thing that we do, gets weight back on. And then if that's not working well enough, we actually go to the brake. Nothing wrong with using the brakes. It's when you combine brakes with a whole lot of steering that becomes a problem. Okay, big, lots of gas. There's the back of the car. Now we just want to look and steer.
We are just, I don't even know where we're going here.
This time when the back of the car goes, we're going to look at the porta potty.
Okay.
And we're going to use that as our focal point, and we're going to try to what's called counter steer, or steer in the opposite direction. So let's get ready, and now let's jump on the gas. Now look for the porta potty, look and steer, look and steer, look and steer.
Oh my God!
Look and steer.
Oh my God!
There you go. How was that?
That was really scary. I think it's harder than you think it is. Like in the moment, there's just there's so much going through my head and the adrenaline.
Of course, for sure. And that's why we always advocate looking and steering where you want to go.
When I see a hill and I'm worried I'm not going to be able to make it up the hill, should I be trying to like gain some momentum before I get up it?
Yeah, so gaining momentum is a technique that you can use if it's a slippery hill for sure. But remember, we do that at the bottom of the hill, not when you're on it. If you have slippery conditions, when the car starts to wiggle around, just keep a constant speed.
What are your final tips for anybody driving in snowy conditions?
Adjust their speed accordingly for conditions. We also want to make sure that we look and steer where we want the car to go.
Harder than you think, but we will do it, yeah.
And then, of course, working with our hands at 9 and 3, that's going to help with control and avoiding the things that we need to.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Patrick.
No problem.
So appreciate you doing this.
Great.
Should we do one more donut?
Oh.
I'm not over it yet. Let's try one more time.
Yeah, let's give it a go.
Oh my God!
Excellent.
I'm ready for F1.
Here we go.
Coming up, celebrating a hobbyist whose do-it-yourself hovercraft is part of our Maritime Museum collection. You're watching Our Vancouver. Welcome. I'm Gloria Makarenko. Now, the next time you're on SkyTrain, you just might find your image immortalized as art. Nishant Jain is known as the sneaky artist, and he is quietly sketching people aboard trains all month. Jain is TransLink's Artist in Residence this month. Just watch.
Sneaky art is just me walking around cities, looking at the different things that people do and trying to find some moments of beauty in all the madness of urban life. It's art that I believe is around us all the time in our cities, and my job as an artist is to sit down, give it a moment and appreciate it, to look at it and to bring it out of all the other things that are happening around us all the time when we travel through cities. A few years ago, I quit my PhD, and because I was so self-conscious and nervous about what I do and this idea of trying to learn to draw, I started to be sneaky about it. So I moved to Vancouver almost 2 years ago, and I love public transport. I love drawing on the trains, on the buses, and someone on TransLink noticed my drawings because I think I tagged them on social media, and then they reached out with this idea for a residency that they're doing with musicians and other visual artists. And together we came up with this plan that I could sit on the trains and draw all the people, and get them interested in just this idea of engaging with each other when we're on the train. The more you travel by public transport, the more it seeps into you the idea that we live in a community, and there is a lot of cooperation to get all the different things that we all individually want in our lives.
This is our Vancouver. Imagine what it must be like for a hobby to become legend and end up in a museum. Yeah, that's what happened to engineer David Scott. He built Canada's do-it-yourself hovercraft in the 1960s. 6 decades later, he took his family to Vancouver Maritime Museum's warehouse to show them the machine that they'd only ever heard about. And he and his eldest daughter, Anne, joined me on CBC Radio's On the Coast. Now, David, I understand you went to see the hovercraft today with your family. How long has it been since you've seen it?
I'm not sure. The last time, excuse me, the last time I saw it, it was on display at the Maritime Museum. Not long after I gave it to them to store, and I think it was about 40 years ago. None of my family had seen it. None of my children or grandchildren, although they had heard various stories about the hovercraft.
So tell us about putting it together in the first place all those years ago.
Well, it started when I was a mechanical engineering student at UBC in the 60s. I saw a short film one lunchtime about hovercraft, and in our final years, mechanical engineering, we had to design a project, build it, test it, report on it as part of the degree program, and I chose hovercraft. And then after I graduated and was working, I thought I had some spare time, or when I had spare time, I thought I would use it. Why not build the full-size version?
I know our producer, Jake Costello, showed you some archival footage of the hovercraft from way back then. What went through your mind when you were watching that?
Well, first of all, it was a total, utter surprise. Didn't know that footage existed. And it was just great to see it because it just brought back so many memories to see the machine operating. And it was actually its first flight, its first hover, when it was tethered at the request of the Department of Transport. And they also, at that time, had decided, because they had had no experience with hovercraft, had decided that it was an aircraft. So it was given the aircraft registration CF-SNF X, extra experimental, which was subsequently removed. And sometime later, after commercial machines had been operating at Expo 67 and across the English Channel, the DOT, the Department of Transport, changed their designation of hovercraft from aircraft to marine vessels. And so I had, when I finished my tests, I had offered it to the National Aeronautical Museum because it still had the aircraft registration on it. And they wanted it, but they could not find transport to take it to Ottawa. So I spoke to Mr. McCann, who was, at that time was the curator of the Maritime Museum in Vancouver. And because the DOT reckoned it was a vessel rather than an aircraft now, of course, the Maritime Museum were delighted to take it.
Anne, okay, as David's daughter then, what was this like for you? What do you remember of your father building the craft?
Well, I was so little, I was 4 or 5 years old, and I just thought all daddies built hovercrafts in their basements. But what does stand out is that Dad built the hovercraft in the basement, and then we needed to get it out of our little house in North Vancouver, and it wouldn't fit. We had to take a wall off the house, and my mom was not pleased. I remember that.
And that's all for Our Vancouver for this week. I hope you can join me weekday afternoons on CBC Radio 1 for On the Coast. For now, goodbye.